Hey everybody, I'm James. Welcome to Big Boys Toys. We're going to go over to Don's garage today. That's the 928's Done Right garage, and have a special episode for you there. He's been working on a really cool car for about the last 3 or 4 months, maybe a little more than that. It's an 8,000 mile 1979 928. I hope that you guys enjoy it. It's a very windy day, so we have some background noise that I couldn't eliminate in any way, so please forgive the background noise. And if you watch till the very end, we do a little montage where I close the door. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but if you've ever closed the door on a like new 928, it has a very special sound. And this car definitely still has that sound. It's just so solid. So I think you'll enjoy that. And we do the close the door, start the car, let it run and idle down. And once it's warmed up, the idle drops down. It's really, really nice. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Come back and see us again soon. Thanks for being here. So today we're going to talk about the 79 5-speed, 8,000 miles.
Just under 8,000.
7,953
something like that.
Yeah, amazing. Beautiful car.
Must be the original thing, from what I can tell. Really well maintained car, as far as the garage kept or a cover or something, but
Absolutely.
Took really good care of this car.
Absolutely. As soon as I opened the door and looked in the interior and looked at the carpets and the pedals, those are kind of the couple of telltale signs. You can look there and go, oh yeah, that car's been messed with. I was like, oh my god.
And the leather's still plush, smooth.
Yeah,
it's
like butter.
It's
like
amazing,
butter.
amazing.
A little bit crushed down, but those seats get crushed down like that almost immediately. You drive the car a couple thousand miles and your seats, that old school seat for some reason just gets a little bit crushed down, but it looks perfect. And I think the only blemish that I saw was like the piping on the outside driver's bolster. That was the only thing in that entire interior that was like, oh man.
Somebody doesn't know how to get in and out of the 928.
That's exactly what it was. Somebody was careless getting in and out of the car, or careless and had something in their pocket. Like maybe I've seen people, working on a car and they had a tool that they forget that they stuck in their pocket and get in the car, something like that.
Yeah, I think somebody's dragging their seat on it, but the leather's so plush, it should be a fairly easy repair in the sense that, you can keep everything original except for the piping.
Exactly.
And pipes me around there, but
exactly.
If somebody knows what they're doing, it's amazing car. Amazing car.
It's a beautiful car, and the pictures will be running, so everybody will be able to see how well the car has been maintained and how beautiful that interior is. Cockney Brown, I think, is the name of the color. So factory original color, Cockney Brown. And Cockney Brown is not common, but it's of the rare colors, it's the more common.
It's definitely period specific as far as the coloring scheme of the car.
That's exactly right. It is a bit unusual to see the full leather interior on these early cars, though. You generally see the 78s and 79s almost all had some version of the velour interior. A lot of them, of course, got the classic traditional Pasha interior, the crazy checkerboard thing that makes your eyes go nuts. And this one has the full leather, though. It's really, really nice and super well cared for. Just beautiful, amazing. And the interior, the engine, the undercarriage. You did some cleanup work on the undercarriage, and that looks
a little bit.
It looks good, but not. It's not like your personal car. You didn't spend 100 hours with a brush and a toothbrush and cleaning material, which I get it. Yeah, exactly. We only have so much time in a day and only so much money that we can spend on a car for that kind of thing. But this is a heck of a list of things that you did to the car. I thought we'd just go over them a little bit. You did a lot of work on the fuel system. We started the car. It sounds fantastic. Warm-up regulators kicking in. Idle's coming down. Yeah. Very challenging. But this one, man, it started right up just immediately. And of course, you know, it's a cold day today in Texas, which is a bit unusual, but it took it. Yeah, we got the heater going for sure. You could hear the warm-up regulator. It was idling high, and then when it finally got properly warm, it just settled right down into a beautiful idle.
Like butter.
Engine, I think you did timing belt water pump, you said?
Timing belt, water pump, and actually I put a PK on this one.
The PK tensioner.
But we saved all the PK stuff, so we go back original. You can have everything original on it.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of the PK.
I think that's a worthy upgrade for any 928. Frankly, I think it helps the car. I mean, there's some upgrades to like maybe the torque tube for the later cars that have more torque. The collar that locks them into place so that you don't get the twisting thing in the what's it called, the thrust bearing?
Thrust bearing.
Yeah, that you don't get that wear. I think that's a worthy one. I think the PK tensioner on all 928s is a great upgrade. But, you know, like you said, you kept all the original stuff, so if somebody wants to buy the car for a collector car and take it all back to stock there.
Yeah, I got a box this big, by this big, by this big of all the old parts.
Yeah, they're welcome to put them back in.
They're welcome.
I
They
think
won't
that
want to, but
I think it would be a
to.
silly thing to do, but
Yeah.
you know, people do silly things.
To each their own, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Engine coolant system. Did it need a new radiator?
Actually, it has original radiator.
Oh, that's
radiator
awesome.
Looks good. It was flushed 6 times as
Oh,
well as
that's
the
good.
engine block.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Actually, the whole coolant system was flushed 6 times.
Wow,
You know, and then so the radiator a couple more times on top of that. But
that's great.
you know, I want to make sure that she's as clean as we can get her.
Radio. What did the radio? And it looked like the factory original radio.
It's a factory original radio. Unfortunately, it's blown a fuse. You know, so actually end up pulling the radio back out of it. You know, and it's actually a 2-module system. So it's the cassette unit is actually one that's blowing the fuses. And you know, I got it where it wasn't blowing the fuse, but when I put it back together, it blew the fuse again. And I go, you know what? We need to send this out to somebody who specializes on the block ones.
So if they want a factory radio that works, then at least they've got a good base one to go with because it's a beautiful radio. My goodness,
I think
it's
that's
perfect.
It's beautiful. I think the tuner section is actually good. The radio is the headset. And I probably spent 4 hours on the phone talking to different shops on repairing it and who could do it and so forth. And I did find one guy that was willing to take a chance, but to be honest, somebody needs to specialize in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. What else did you do to the car? It looks like it has new tires on it. The wheels look perfect.
New tires on it. I ended up putting new boots on the CV axles, changed out all the fluids on it with the exception of the brake system. The customer's going to hold off on that right now.
Okay.
You know, went through, the car was sitting for many years. I don't know how many years it is, could be 2, whatever it is. And so I ended up dropping the fuel tank out of it and then reflushing. It was heavy varnish, you know, so I ended up, having to, clean all that back out, replace the accumulator and most of the fuel lines and, and that kind of stuff.
The fuel system on cars that sit for a long time, it's a real bear to bring those back up to working order.
How many hours do you think you had working on this thing?
I'm going to say I'm pretty close to 140-ish.
Wow.
Actually, it's more than that, but I build about 140 of it.
Wow.
So it's probably closer to 160, 170-ish,
And that's
if I had to guess.
Wow.
you know, but you know, I want to make sure that the car's right for the customer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to do it right, and I mean, not everybody has an unlimited budget for that kind of thing, so you've got to draw the line somewhere, and you kind of take your cues from the customer at that point, because you know you can keep going as long as you want it to go. Really,
hit the chunks. You got to hit in chunks on these older cars. I mean, it's just too much
Definitely.
to hit at one go.
Definitely.
But,
We've got the 81 in here that we'll do a video on later too. That's kind of the same boat, actually a lot worse than this one, because it's got a lot more miles. I mean, it's been driven a lot.
And that car's, you know, if somebody really enjoyed that car here. This one here, it's been sitting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Less than 8,000 miles at this
I know, it's unbelievable. I only know of a handful of cars with fewer miles than that. There was an 85 that I came across that had 7,000 miles, I think. There was the 82 that I used to have that had 3,775 miles on it when I sold it. There was the 78 known as Kermit that had 1,426. There was an S4 with 5,900 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really weird color, kind of an orangey metallic sort of color. I'd never seen it before. It was really strange, but really low mile. I mean, like this, it was like a new car, you know. And those are the only ones I've heard of. I'm sure that I have heard of, but I didn't ever see an odometer reading in a picture of the car. But I've heard of a couple of GTSs that are sub 1,000 miles.
If you cannot own one of these cars, why not enjoy it?
Well, you know, some people maybe they just enjoy looking at it or sitting in them or something. I don't
feel the leather.
Yeah, well, because the low mileage cars are so rare now. That's basically all I did with my 82. I owned it for 7 years or 8 years, something like that, before I sold it, and I put 250 miles on it in the entire time I owned the car. But I frequently went out and sat in it because it smelled brand new and the leather was like butter. I would start it and let it get fully warm. We were talking about this earlier, how people will start a car and not let it get fully warm. I would get it fully warm, even put it in gear, not drive it, but put it in gear, so that way everything's spinning shy of the gears in the transmission.
Well, I'd like to, test drive cars, go through the paces, make sure they're good, they're in good shape. And this one here, I'm afraid to drive.
Yeah, totally.
I think I'd maybe put 20 miles on it, maybe, probably closer to 14, but I'm gonna say 20.
You don't want to be the guy that goes over 8,000 miles.
I'm the guy that does over 8,000.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be that guy. Well, maybe somebody that buys it, maybe the owner, now that it's going to be up and running and feeling like it should, maybe he'll be the guy that puts 8,000 miles. Maybe he'll sell it as to another collector, and it'll go sit in a collection somewhere.
It's too nice of a car to have. It's just, I hate saying that, but it's just too nice of a car to have.
Yeah, 5-speed. I mean, early OB cars, they handle so nicely. They're so well balanced. Unless you've had the opportunity to drive either an OB that's had all of its suspension properly upgraded or replaced so that it's like new, or one like this that's really low mileage so it is actually new, it's hard to appreciate just how nicely the 928s drive and how balanced the early cars really are. You get into the later cars and Porsche kind of shifted their thinking to, we're going to make this a grand touring car. So they go straight really well, and high-speed corners that are very comfortable, but they don't feel like a sporty car. They feel heavy, and they are pretty.
I took this one, had to get it full of gas, of course. Took it out on the interstate, and we were doing about 80, and she felt rock solid. This is a nice car.
If you ever drove an early 911, and I say early, I don't mean like from the 60s or even the 70s, but maybe the late 70s, the SCs, and then up through the Carreras of the 80s, they're a little bit nervous because they are truly sports cars, and they were designed to handle very well and have sharp handling, where these cars seem to maintain the sharpness but they do it in a much more comfortable and relaxed fashion. And that's difficult to appreciate in a car that's been driven a lot, because it's just not going to have the suspension parts are going to be a little worn, the shocks are going to be old and tired and what have you. And then in the later cars, they went to a more grand touring setup on the car, so they're not quite as reactive to your inputs as these early cars. And when you drive an early car that's perfectly set up and like new, you really realize why the 928 was 50% more expensive than a 911. Because it's worth it.
It's a very well composed car.
Super well designed, super composed, and of course, with the 911s, there was always the problem of the back end swapping positions with the front end. If you just figured out you were going too fast in the corner and let off on the gas, they'd just spin on you. And so they wanted to not have that problem, and they managed to work it out through some incredible engineering in the 928s. And they just do everything really, really well. I think the only downfall with the 928 was that it was 50% more expensive than a 911 when it was new. That's a lot more expensive.
You get what you pay for?
I think in this case you did.
I think so too.
But I mean, it's still, as you move further and further up the price scale, fewer and fewer people can buy your product, and eventually you work your way to the point where there aren't enough people to buy your product, no matter how good it is.
I never thought I could afford one.
There has never been a time in my life where I could afford a new Porsche of any kind, which is unfortunate and sad. But I'm glad that they became used cars.
Well, this one's the new car. The engine's not even broken yet.
It's not even close to broken. It wasn't even due for its first oil change yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
So anyway, thanks for talking to us about the 79. This is a great car, and thanks for showing it to us and sharing it with us, and hopefully we see it again around town or in a collection or
I think this one's going back to Midland, if memory serves. Came from Houston, it's going back to Midland.
Wow.
So
I hope that it doesn't end up being one of those it is a collector car, and I hope it doesn't end up disappearing, for a period, because I always love when somebody that has something rare and unique and beautiful and like this, that at least they share it with people. And it may not always be in person, but in pictures, or take it out and do a photo shoot with it. Because you still need to drive it a little bit.
Yeah. You gotta drive a car. Because
you really need to.
It's hard for them to sit, but
yeah,
it's a beautiful car.
It's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do I drive it or do I protect it?
Yeah, I think it needs to hold down the shop floor somewhere.
Put it in a hermetically sealed bubble, and I don't know. I had that every time I went out in the garage and saw Blue 82. It was like, do I drive this?
I want to drive it. I shouldn't drive it. I want to drive it.
That is the way. I had that every day. I felt that way every day. Thank you, Don.
Sir.
Always good to see you.
Likewise.
Take care. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Join us again next time. We'll talk about the 81. See you soon.
See you guys.
Listen to this door close. It sounds amazing, and like every 928 should sound. Warm-up regulators kicking in. Idle's coming down. Yeah.